Hi, this is Billi from 84 Faces. You're now listening to SpeakerBox X, featuring hip hop aside.
A group of independent radio stations linked together by mutual agreement and telephone long lines.
So how you been? It's been a minute. I haven't spoken to you in a while.
And a hell of a while. I've been good, just doing the thing, you know, following the rules and staying safe and enjoying my life, living my life the way I can.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So my first question to you is, what's the meaning behind the name you gave your latest album, I Luma, that you created with Tensi? I think that was a very interesting name for your album, I Luma, and I was just curious to know where did you guys come up with that name?
Sure. So it's pronounced I Luma.
Okay.
And it's a directional phrase meaning in front. And the language is Samoan, and I have Samoan heritage. So for me, it was honoring that part of myself by naming that album that. And I created it with Tensei. They sort of made the beats, and the idea around it was to put lessons learned and feelings felt in the forefront of the consciousness. And so that's what I did with the writing, and perhaps it'll do something for listeners.
Oh no, it's beautifully made. I mean, I love the name. So it's I Luma, right? Correct? Am I saying it right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
I Luma, okay.
Mm-hmm. And it means in front.
Okay, in front, that's what it means. Okay, nice. How did you meet Tensi?
Okay, so Tensei is two producers. They're both from Chicago, even though they don't, one lives in Chicago, one does not. And I met them kind of through what I call the Cubs, which is the Chicago underground beat scene. I used to do a lot of music with folks in the Chicago underground beat scene when I lived in Chicago. And so I had released an EP with a homie, DJ Uncle L, under the moniker Black Magic, and I believe Tensei heard that and reached out and asked if I wanted to work on a project. So it was kind of through a mutual deal, and then they just reached out after that.
No, nice. I mean, you guys did an amazing job with your project, I Luma. I was just like stunned. I'm like, you brought the vocals, the lyrics, he brought like all the instrumentals, everything was so beautifully done. So I really enjoyed that album. So what inspired you to create this album, and what do you want listeners to draw out of it?
I am used to making one-off singles and EPs, and I wanted to take a crack at doing a whole album. And so, if anything, I'd like folks to enjoy the sounds and or relate to the concepts on the album.
Okay, nice. So what inspired the creation of the track Movement?
Movement. So Movement, along with a lot of other songs, kind of like Rushing In, which you said you liked, there's times in life where you kind of have to jump into the abyss, so to speak, and where life tells you to show and prove after all of the crap you've talked about doing this or completing that. And so particularly with those two songs, that's those songs encompass that idea.
Okay, nice. We're gonna go ahead and take a musical break. I'm gonna go ahead and play the track Movement from abillifree and Tensi's latest album called I Luma.
Waiting in the beat for my assignment. My soul is not for sale and no consignment. I can't serve a special type of alchemy. Stay self-reliant, it don't cost no money. Yeah. Take me to the heights and knock me back down. And me up in my ego, thought we had a ride now. Creating for mistaken for the sanity of all the pretty souls that are surrounding me. Yeah. It'll be fine. Take your time. What you want, all in your mind. Don't you quit or overcommit when you're stepping and aligning. Baby, that's it. You've got to learn your deeply. You've got to do your completely. Alternate the burning of my candles. Power, presence, purpose, patience got the perfect blend. Like the incense and the smoke mixed with my aura. Share these little gifts, cause then I get to know you. Reciprocate the love and pass it on down. When you're dealing with the real, that stuff don't run out. All the rules bring the ideas into fruition. Hold the blossoms to the sun, that extra firm fix. I am that I am, no pretending. Middle and the south of the west representing. Got these sparks in my heart, they prevent this. High times, opportunities be presenting. Positive developments. Stumble through the reds like I'm an elephant. Beast very beat, I said raw and elegant. Pull them things from the ether, see it ever there. If you ain't moving forward, I ain't taking it. No love lost, still feel incredible. Translates concepts for eligible. Young eat up, all made adjustable. Plug express to the ear like a federal. Pay packets in the mail, keep checking, boo. Your faith out here, bending all the hard rules. Dropping hot clues for you to pour through. Shit is see-through, flow will be you. Like your blessings if you always keep your chest tight. Got to breathe nice, treat yourself right. What I conclude is that you get loose. Bring your whole crew, let's celebrate. It's fine, take your time. What you want, all in your mind. Don't you quit or overcommit when you're slipping and aligning. Baby, that's it. You got to learn your deeply. You got to do you completely. It'll be fine. Take your time. What you want, all in your mind. Don't you quit or overcommit when you're stepping and aligning. Baby, that's it. You got to learn your deeply. You got to do you completely.
You're listening to 99.1 FM, Downtown Radio, the antidote to corporate radio. You're now tuning into SpeakerBox X, subterranean hip-hop in effect, with your host, V-Riv. And we have live on air, we have abillifree, and it's been a minute, and we're just chopping it up. We've just been catching up on her latest album called I Luma, and we're going to go ahead and continue to dive into the mind of abillifree. And my next question to you is, what's your opinion on the state of hip-hop?
So Mos Def Yasin Bey has a great quote. It says, hip-hop is doing how the people are doing. And at different stages, it's reviving, it's hitting a trough, or it's hitting a crest. And I believe that because we've categorized our art into so many genres and subgenres, sometimes it gives the illusion that it's not doing well or it's not doing great because, you know, conscious rap is not popular right now, or some other form of hip-hop is not or is popular right now. And I believe as long as creation is happening and as long as folks are taking pride in holding the banner of hip-hop, it'll be fine. It'll continue to move forward. And the thing that I'm realizing about history is that one can't really get a good, close and true grasp of what is actually going on real time until it's passed. So some things we can see, but other things we see better when time has passed. So my advice would be just to stay healthy and stay improving until we can get to that point where we can see, you know, further.
Oh, those are great words, great words. So what's your opinion on the state of things in the world?
I have a lot of opinions. It's different. There's a shift. What I would say to people, as I said before, is just to continue to improve yourself, your mental, your health, your emotional, physical, improve what you have control over. And most of us have the time now to dedicate to improving ourselves. So,
no, very true.
That's what I'd say about that.
No, those are good. That's. I think self-improvement should be number one for everybody. Like, I feel like once you start improving yourself, things will change. Like, most definitely, I agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Would you like to share something personal or an experience that not a lot of people know about you?
Well, something that I'm super into right now, as I mentioned before, I Luma is from the Samoan language, and I do share heritage. And recently I've been diving into my family tree and, you know, learning the language and culture and seeing how it's different from the culture that I grew up in. So that's one of the things that folks may not know about me.
That's really cool. That's really cool. What can we do, you know, to make this world a better place, in your opinion? Like, what's some things we can do that?
I read a book. Again, all that falls under self-improvement and looks different from different people. I read a quote the other day that said, paradoxically, systemic change is a deeply personal endeavor. So just diving into self, I believe, it can make you better, period. You know, it may not be a large change. It may be a small change, but small changes add up to large changes.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. We're going to go ahead and take a musical break. I'm going to go ahead and play your track called Against the Wall by abillifree and Tensi from their latest album called I Luma.
When your back is against the wall, the wall, the wall, pressure get real tall, the wall, the wall, answer when you call, the wall, push it till it fall, the wall. Nose on the grindstone, chipping away. Another day at the office, another rat in the race. Poles got the stakes in the earth on the axis. Lord, give me strength, some salt, and some flaxseed. Safeguard in the center line. Hawk feathers, I know my kind. Creating moments in all the right places. Holding lift steady the pace. If the brick shifts, real teams dealing with human beings. Polish policies, philosophies, and the principalities. Brilliant, resilient, gems by the pound. Like the way to launch above the roar of the hound. When your back is against the wall, the wall, the wall. Pressure gets real tall. The wall, the wall. Answer when it calls. The wall, the wall. Push it till it falls. The wall, the wall. Erratic with all the violence. Walking beauty, talking silence. Can't close me in to throw me off my mission. Native stay free, be the name, just listen. Charging plus and leaking bandwidth. I hike in attacks and they spying on our families. Bust a burner, hot partitions in the way. Don't be the sucker in a lose-lose game. Got to make the come up off a bed, just stop. Keeping it together when the body's lost sprawl. I know you just got here, it's not your fault. Pray tell, what would you do when your back's against the wall? When your back is against the wall, the wall, the wall, the wall, the wall, the wall. Pressure get real tall. The wall, the wall, the wall, the wall. Answer when it call. The wall, the wall, the wall, the wall. Push it till it fall. The wall, the wall, the wall, the wall. When your back is against the wall, the wall, the wall. Pressure gets real tall.
You're listening to 99.1 FM, Downtown Radio, the antidote to corporate radio. You're now tuning into SpeakerBox X, subterraneous hip-hop in effect, with your host V-Riv. And we have abillifree here live, and we've just been chopping it up with abillifree, and we're going to continue to dive into our mind. We just talked about how we can make this world better, and we also dived into other aspects like the state of hip-hop, and we're going to go ahead and dive into what inspired you and Tensi to create the track Against the Wall.
So, both you and I know we live on the border, that there's always and have been for decades talk about the wall.
Yeah.
And walls are not just physical, they can be mental and emotional. So really, I took that concept, and of course we can all see the physical wall when we hear it, but I'm also talking about those internal walls that we build up in ourselves and we build towards other people. And, we have to answer the call to see whether or not that wall is a good thing or not. Sometimes walls and boundaries are good, but sometimes they're not, and those that are not need to perhaps come down.
Agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah, especially with what is going on right now. I feel like there's so many things going on at once, and we all feel like we've been kind of like barricade, but we shouldn't feel that way, because it's all in our mind where we feel barricade, and because there's ways of we could climb over the wall, we could somehow get through the wall. There's ways to do it. It's just that it all always stems from self. Like you said earlier, it all stems from self, like knowing your limits, but also knowing how to not only knowing your limits, but also knowing how to diverge from what you're used to. You know what I mean? Learn new things, because during this quarantine, I found out that I've learned new things now because of it, which I probably would never have done had it not been for the wall, right? For this quarantine, so I'm starting to dive into soap making and candle making and all these things that are really essential to know. You know what I mean? I really think like we should all know how to create things, and we kind of lost our connection to things that are essential to us. You know, we're so used to going to the store and buying these things, you know? So that's one thing that I noticed about myself, is that it's actually made me, you know, get out of my comfort zone and be like, yo, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and learn something new. You know what I mean? That I probably never would have touched upon had it not been for this quarantine, you know? So that's something that I've learned.
Absolutely. I read a quote that said that Americans work the most. And in like the top 5 countries that work the most in the entire world. And even with the stay-at-home orders, at the time, it was around April, they were like, if Americans stayed in and didn't work for 3 months, they'd still place in the top 5, because that's how much we actually work. Wow. And a lot of that work is not internal work, you know, it's work for somebody else. So the fact that we have this time to do, you know, our own work is great, you know, in that aspect.
Yeah, 100%, yes. What are your future plans, and are you working on a new project?
Yes, I'm working on a new project. I have another EP. We just got the masters back for Black Magic, which is myself and DJ Uncle L, so it's a mix of hip-hop, electronica, and soul. And then I've been doing hella songs with Lasso out of Detroit and Tucson. And I just did some vocals for a couple of groups, and then I have a band in El Paso. We just shot a video a couple of weeks ago, so I'm staying busy.
Nice. Okay. Wow, I have to check out that video. And when it comes out, is it already out or not yet?
So the video is part of the Jetstream Festival. And so El Paso International Airport reached out to us, and it's just a conglomeration of airports throughout the country showcasing local talent. And so we'll be streaming on August 19th on Facebook at the Jetstream Fest.
Cool. Okay.
I believe that's what it's called.
Okay. Sweet. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. What artists, or who are the artists that are influencing you now, and why?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. I'm really digging this organization called Fast Swag out of New Zealand, and it's a collective of artists that combine ballroom culture and indigenous traditions from the Pacific, so I'm really digging on them. I also will forever love Octavia E. Butler. She's a science fiction writer. She's just a master writer and visionary, and even though she writes novels, I still take a lot and can use a lot with my songwriting from what I get from her. And then there's so many artists that influence me, and I generally post them on my stories on Instagram. They just light my heart up, you know, especially if I have a down day, you know, I just go scrolling for good art on the internet.
Sorry.
And yeah, so check out my Instagram stories, because I post a lot of art and they influence me. Those folks influence me, even if I don't know them personally.
Yeah, no, it's dope. What books, TV shows, movies have you been watching and or reading during quarantine?
Oh man, so there's a Netflix series called Space Force with Steve Carell. I really like that. I've been listening to a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, a lot of People's Party with Talib Kweli. And then I've been doing some independent research on the slavery of the European and the Barbary states in the 1500s, and then also the legal creation of the racial designation of Black as opposed to white. And then also studying matrilineal and matriarchal societies, and then, as I stated before, working on my own personal family tree.
No, yeah, that's all good, man. Wow, that's really cool. What's your all-time favorite dish? I know this is like a random question, but it's something that I find really interesting. What's your all-time favorite dish, food, and why?
I'd have to say Ethiopian food, hands down. It's nutritious, it's varied, it's linked to a very rich history. And shout out to Cafe Desta, Zimams and Zimams too in Tucson. There's no Ethiopian food in New Mexico. I have to go to Tucson. You guys are delicious. Please support these businesses because when I go back, I want them to be open and so I can eat.
No, yeah, I love Cafe Desta. I love Ethiopian food, so yeah. Awesome. We're going to go ahead and take a musical break. I'm going to go ahead and play your track, Erosion, and this is off a Billifree and Tensi's album called I Luma.
Trying to live on my best land. It be loyals and family, I ain't got no best friends. But before my tracks fall off the trail, got a hit list for forgiveness at the set. I used to think I didn't care. On the road to riding now before my soul crosses the rim. Like water to rock over time, on the low life will shake you. See what you complex, evolve and rotate. And on the parlay, okay. Every hour's a payday. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Riding these butts in my seat. Massaging the grind, chaining the mind. Almost like buying my chains. Situation with virgin. Slashing down with my sword, yeah. Nice slice up in the gravy. Fire soap to go crazy. Breeze across the grain. Orange along the lace. All in, we never lace. Confer with all the G's. Like water to rock over time, on the low life will shake you. See what you feel, your failures, your wins and your challenges make you. Like water to rock over time, on the low life will shake you. See what you feel, your failures, your wins and your challenges make you. Broadcast from the middle of the Palo on sell on my pole. Been working on my Tagalog art belt, chopping up the block, keep my saber tip sharp, spitting on my tops non-stop like a carpool girl. She's a mountain unmovable, crying for the world unsuitable. Get a grip on point, let me fin another joint when I walk through the doors, trying to have mad like water to rock over time, on the low life will shake you. See what you feel, your failures, your wins and your challenges make you.
You're listening to 99.1 FM, Downtown Radio, the antidote to corporate radio. You're now tuning to SpeakerBox X, Subterranean Hip Hop in Effect, with your host V-Riv. And we have live on air abillifree, and we've been chopping it up. We just talked about our favorite dish, and it's Ethiopian. So I'm really psyched because I love Ethiopian food. It's really good food. I love the bread. The bread is so good. Yeah, it's nice, and it's like kind of...
It's good, and it's gluten-free.
Yeah. And so since we're almost at the tail end of our show, is there anything you would want the audience to know? Anything you want to share?
Well, for those of you who have been rocking with me, I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you as I, continue my journey in music and in the art and business of music. It's great to have folks that appreciate what I do. And then for those of you who I'm just meeting through this show here, SpeakerBox X, it's nice to meet you, and looking forward to connect, and I hope you dig what I'm dishing out.
Sweet.
And thank you, V-Riv, for inviting me back. It's been so long since we've chatted it up.
I know, it's been a minute. Hopefully after this quarantine is lifted, we can have you back on, back in Tucson to do a performance or something, That'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to have you back over here.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. One last question. The cover for I Luma. So I love the artwork. Can you tell us about that?
So the artist is Matt Lyons, and he did the cover artwork. I believe he does most of the cover artwork for Tokyo Dawn Records, which is who we released the album through. And then there were many ideas considered for artwork, but most of them had to do with celestial space. And I love my hair, and the idea that I had was just hair with a whole bunch of spacey items in it. And that was final, and the artwork came back, and I loved it. I mean, we didn't even have to do very many edits on it at all. I think we just did one edit, and it was a small edit, and that was it. So.
Yeah, the colors. Who picked the color scheme? I love the color scheme for your album cover. Can you tell us how that came about?
That was all Matt, but what happened was he sent us 4 different copies of the same image, but just different color schemes, and that was the color scheme that was yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, so we're at the tail end of our show, but I definitely want to ask you for Rushing In. I love that track, Rushing In. I feel it's a very spiritual, track. Because you're talking about the sun, and the sun itself has a lot of symbology. Can you dive into that for us?
I'm rushing into the sun, rushing into the fun. A lot of my music I like to put in symbols, and that's actually interesting because sometimes I just take a symbol and I run with it. But, the sun is known for giving life, creating light and darkness. It's a joy giver. And then we get a lot of sun down here, so as often, sometimes I have to edit myself and be like, all right, you said sun in 4 different songs, chill out, we know you love the sun, So yeah, sun and lightning and rain, all of these elements. I like to get elemental and spend time in the elements too.
Yeah, no, because rushing in, the sun to me signifies it's a masculine force too. It has to do with the masculine force, the action. It's what makes people want to do something. It represents the 3D world, and it's also everything else you said. So it just has so many different layers of meaning. The sun, So I love the way you were able to. I don't know, everything just came together so nicely in that track. I just loved it. So. Props to you guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Hey, thank you.
Yeah, and then also we're at the tail end of the show. My final question to you is, what are your words of wisdom during this crucial time in history, really? I don't think we've ever been through something like this, this quarantine. And, just with what happened with, with the recent, the riots and whatnot. What's your take on it? Like, what's your words of wisdom?
I feel like wisdom doesn't like to come to people who are panicked and stressed out. I feel like wisdom comes when we are in either a relaxed state or we're in a courageous state. So perhaps we shouldn't be so quick to be outraged all the time. Perhaps we shouldn't be so quick to be panicked all the time. Perhaps our first reaction shouldn't be anxiety. All of those things have their time and their place. But if we can look at our issues, our own issues and societal issues with a more level-headed perspective, perhaps it might work out better. We just try different things, right? We know when we come up against bad news or resistance that stressing out about it is not good because we've done it so many times. Most of us to the point where we're insane, right? Because that's what insanity is. You keep doing the same thing and it doesn't work, but you expect it to. So let's try something different,
No, totally. Being proactive, I guess that's like, the major take on it. It's like being proactive. Just not letting all this, the negative news, get you down, just be proactive. And I think you said some key words about working on yourself. Like, this is the best time to be the best version of yourself, and I think all of us are working towards creating the best version of ourselves. It's just that some of us don't know it yet. And I feel like you just need somebody to tell you. And then they're like, oh yeah, I should focus on me first before I can go out and battle all these other things going on, So 100, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I think service to self automatically, I feel, translates into service to others. So if we can be the best version of ourselves, when our world opens back up, we can be the best for other people that may have had it way rougher than we did,
Yeah, totally. All right, so thank you, abillifree, for being on SpeakerBox X. Make sure to check out her not only her, but Tensi's brand new album called I Luma. It is phenomenal. I love the way all the tracks came together and just the instrumentals, everything. You guys did a great job composing it. It's marvelous. It's just its own masterpiece. I loved it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to share with the listener, Billi, or are you good?
Nope, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So that was abillifree on SpeakerBox X. Make sure to get her album, I Luma. And she also collaborated with Tensi. So shout out to Tensi because he did an amazing job as well. All right. So I'll talk to you later. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bells are ringing, lights in the distance. Oh damn, what are we getting into? Universe, no delusion. I see the signs and I know you're in collusion. I'm rushing in.